the battle at left tackle is going to be a good battle. I can't.
Great battle. Great battle.
Who do you think ends up winning that battle?
I think Jordan Mailata wins it. There's just not many guys on the face of the earth that can run like that, that have that kind of size and that ability to move bodies. I know, that Andre is 20 pounds heavier. We'll see how that translates in the run game. But I think Mailata is going to win that job.
That
you learn something,
and you see it from a whole different vantage point.
There he is. There he is.
What's
up,
the
NFL?
What's up, Bob? What's going on?
How you doing, guys?
Oh, we're doing great, man. We were just talking about you and saying that, it's a big guest if we allow the guest to start the show with us. And I figured,
right?
Yeah, I mean,
I know that, Harry.
Oh, yeah. Well, typically, you remember doing radio, like the first segment, the boss man never wanted a guest on. He always, just set up the show. Get into something,
Well, break that norm then, Harry.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But we got to talk to you about not only football, but I was saying about how your Instagram, you're not really on Instagram unless you're following Baldy NFL on Instagram.
That's right. It's
a fabulous follow. And, you get to sort of travel around the globe with Baldy. He might be swimming with sharks. He might be, in a jungle somewhere,
right,
confronting a bison that's walking across the road.
I know to do that, Harry. That's true. That's true.
You know what? Let me tell you this, though. I started my media career. I didn't just jump on radio. I called Baldy. I was selling synthetic turf fields.
Okay.
So I call up Baldy. I said, Baldy, hey, man. Because before that, during the, run when I was with the Steelers, my last 2 years, we were supposed to play in the Super Bowl. We were supposed to all Pennsylvania against the Eagles. We didn't make it. The next year we do make it. We win it. But during that time period, I called Baldy, and Baldy was like, hey, man, we'll sit down and watch some tape with me. So I would go to his house and we would watch tape, and he was saying, well, what is Russ Grimm trying to get with this? What is his purpose right here? Or, why is this doing this? And we just talk it out.
Yeah.
And we started doing that for like 2 years. So I didn't think anything of it. So then I start selling synthetic turf. I retire. I go back to school, get my MBA. I start selling synthetic turf field. I was like, I got to get back in the game somehow. So I called Baldy. Baldy, can you get me in the building? He said, no question. Be here tomorrow. I go in, he walks me in. They give me the job immediately, even though I'm intern and I have to serve them donuts and coffee all day, But I learned what it is to be a producer / host,
right?
From this guy, just walking me through, taking me under his wing, man. So that's how I started my my media career as far as getting into the building. He got me into NFL films. That's where you are now.
I'm here now, Barrett. But then Harry, there was the fatal mistake of introducing Barrett to Sterling Sharp.
Oh.
And that just went in a whole different direction because there's only one Sterling Sharp in this world.
Right.
The most talented individual there is, but you better have some thick skin.
No question.
Sterling's going to test you right away. And he obviously took a liking to Barrett right away, worked with him on camera. Barrett, really started sharpening his skills, and the rest is history, as they say.
Remember that time the first time he gets me in front of the camera, and he's making me a demo reel. So we're in the camera room, and you can draw on the board, and it'll show up on the film. So I'm breaking down the lag draw with Jason Peters, and this is actually where everybody started talking about the lag draws when I broke it down and showed Chris Collinsworth. I showed it for him on the show. I showed him what the lag draw was. Jason Peters threw the defensive end up the field, and then he went and got the backer, and then, Shady McCoy ran in behind, ran for a touchdown, So I showed him that play. Then every play after that was lag draw. Well, I'm supposed to be drawn up on the board. So, Sterling's sitting there talking to me. Yeah, lag draw. Yeah. Jason Peters. You throw him up the field. You going to show me what you're talking about? And I'm talking to him. I'm not showing him. I'm not writing anything.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there giggling at me because I'm not writing on the board, trying to show everybody what I'm talking about. I'm just talking it through instead of writing it through. It was crazy, man. But he's sitting there, just laughing away. I'm like, what are you laughing at? Oh, that's right. I'm supposed to be drawing on the board. I was nervous, couldn't think. Man, it was crazy, man.
That's awesome. Well, Baldy, nobody gets more excited for football than you. What is the biggest thing that you're looking forward to this season?
Well, we haven't had a repeat Super Bowl champion, since Tom Brady did it with the Patriots back in 2003, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
We have never seen a Super Bowl team ever return everybody, not only just the players, but all the coaches. Normally, a team wins the Super Bowl, a bunch of the coaches get plucked off the staff. And I've always said, going back to my days in Dallas when we lost Ditka, we lost a lot of Gene Stallings, we lost a lot of great coaches, that it's harder to replace good coaches than it is good players.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams are going to learn that this year. But, can the Patriots or can the Buccaneers repeat this year? I mean, it's remarkable because at the start of free agency, they had just a few dollars to work with. They were at the very bottom of the league. And yet they got everybody re-signed and brought back, including Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette and Shaq Barrett. I mean, the whole group is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that's where it starts. Can Tampa Bay and a Tom Brady that will turn 44 during the season, actually in August, can they repeat this year? I guess that's where it starts for me, Harry.
Well, looking at that and talking about free agency, free agency started around 85, 86, around that era, just before the strike.
93, Barrett.
93? Okay.
Free agency officially began. They had Plan B, free agency, free agency like in 89, 90. But, it officially started in 93.
Well, then before then you could just hide players. You just, put them deep down in the roster.
Injured reserve.
And you could just protect your players that way. Well, now with free agents being the way it is, I'm seeing a change in how these, big name players, big contracts are wielding what they want as far as these teams, man. I mean, you look at Rodgers at this point, what do you think comes of that whole situation? And, the rest of these guys that are saying, hey, if I don't like this, I'm about to bail. I'm about to leave.
Well, I've said it from the very beginning, Barrett, that Aaron Rodgers is going to play for the Green Bay Packers. The Packers aren't trading him. They're not going to trade away the MVP. He's 37 years old. He's going to be 38. He just had his best season ever. And I contend that one of the reasons why he played as best he ever has played is because of the tension that exists between him and the management. Not many people can just, like Brady, just laser focus and go, okay, Mark Murphy, Brian Gutekunst, I'll show you guys what I'm really all about. And just lock in and play the best football he's ever played. I believe that the same issues that he started to kind of bring to the surface this offseason were there all year long. And so he just used it as motivation throughout the season. And so they're not going to trade him. I don't believe that it does him any good at all to sit out. I know he's engaged. He's got his girl. That's great. I'm happy for him. But sitting out is going to be miserable. Like, are you really going to choose misery over whatever issues you have with certain people in the organization? I don't think so. And so then you go, okay, camp starts on next Tuesday, July 27th. Is he going to be there? Probably not. But he also can't really sit out 6 weeks until September 12th when they open up, because you're not going to put yourself in a good position to get the timing down with Devonta or, the new slot receiver, Amari Rodgers, or Aaron Jones, whatever. So at some point, I think they have some meeting of the minds, and he comes in, and I think he's going to come in at some point in August and get ready to play football.
What did you make of the news that he apparently turned down an extension that would have kept him in the Green Bay uniform for the next 5 years? Do you think this might be just 1 more year in Green Bay, and then he goes somewhere else? Well,
it gives him the option, Harry. Like, I think that deal that has been talked about now, and I guess it was broke on Adam Schefter's show, I'm not sure. But regardless, it gives him options if he still feels has the same angst towards the organization and Jordan Love entering his third year, the presumed, heir apparent that they drafted last year. It gives Green Bay an option, and it gives Aaron Rodgers an option. If he plays at an MVP level again, his stock is only going to go up, and maybe the Denvers or maybe Tampa, whoever, New Orleans, it gives another team or other teams, that option to go after him. or he could cut himself loose, or Green Bay. I just think it gives him more options than to just lock in and say, okay, you're a Packer for life.
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. But I was thinking the same thing with what Carson was going on. A little bit of a difference in it wasn't the money aspect of it because he just got his contract. But I mean, I thought he was going to be here. I thought he was going to be an Eagle. I didn't know you could be a disgruntled employee and force your way out. Well, he did that. I know it began to get mutual towards the end that they wanted him out also. But you also look at, what's going on with Zach Ertz and his whole situation. Now I'm under the belief that, all right, they should keep him, and he just another weapon inside the repertoire that Jalen Hurts can use. What do you think of that?
Well, he's under contract. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to trade for Zach Ertz. He's a very limited player. I mean, the Eagles have always had a hard time playing 11 personnel just because of his limited ability to block. And you really can't put him at the point of attack, and you can't have him blocking the side, strong side, in the run game. I mean, he's just limited like that. So, when Frank was here and John DeFilippo, when they were running a lot of 13 personnel packages out there, you could really find ways to utilize Zach Ertz. And I thought, when Frank left to go to Indianapolis 2 years ago, I thought the Eagles really got away from that 13 personnel package that really helped Zach. I thought, he could really become just a backside cutoff guy, but really a featured, receiver. And he was really good at that role and really good in that role. And it showed up in the Super Bowl. It showed up in the NFC Championship game against the Vikings. So, but I think he's just a limited player. I think at this point, Dallas Goedert is a more well-rounded player. And, players that just have major – I mean, look, Travis Kelce, he's an elite route runner. They have always figured out how to just limit Travis Kelce at the point of attack. I mean, they just as great an athlete as he is, he's not a good blocker either. But he's better than Zach. And so that's the issue, is how do you build an offense, that includes Zach, but yet kind of hides his weaknesses. Because it's not easy to do. You got to almost march two tight ends out there a lot of times. When most of the teams in this league, run 11 personnel. The Rams are 11 personnel team, one back, one tight end, but they use their receivers in stacked tight formations to really seal the edge in unison. You always see Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods or some of those guys that they have there, sealing the edge like a second tight end.
Just like Pittsburgh. That's what they do.
They did that with Hines Ward for forever, when you were there.
Hey, Baldy, it's been so long since we talked to you. I mean, so much has happened on the Eagles front. Doug Peterson, 3 years removed from winning a Super Bowl, is out of a job, and they got Nick Sirianni and a very young staff in here. What was your first reaction, to Doug and the Eagles parting ways? And then what do you anticipate with this new staff?
Well, I was confused because if the problem was Carson, I'm not putting it all on one person, but if your quarterback isn't talking to your head coach,
that's a problem.
Yeah. And not just your head coach, but the coach that calls the plays. If your quarterback and your head coach aren't communicating at all, it's going to be a disaster. So it was dysfunctional. But once they traded Carson to Indianapolis, I thought, okay, now let's let Doug start working with Jalen Hurts or whatever the plan is. And then when they got rid of Doug, I thought, all right, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I just didn't understand it. I really didn't. But, once they did that and they started going through the process of, interviewing Brandon Staley, he didn't want to come, or Arthur Smith and Arthur Smith. And so he didn't want to come, and he signed with Atlanta. I mean, those were the first two guys out of the box. And then they started going through all the other guys, and then they got to Nick Sirianni, who wasn't on their list to start with, and was, I was like, okay, is Nick ready for the job? But then, once I started talking to the players, they like Nick. I mean, to a man, they like Nick and they like the staff. They like the way they communicate. They like the way they explain things. They like the way they are on the field. I mean, Nick Rallis is the linebacker coach. Nick Rallis is 27 years old. He's the linebacker coach.
Right.
I was around him. I was around him in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago. He learned from Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. He's been up there coaching the linebackers there. I mean, it's a young staff. I mean, I've never heard of a 27-year-old position coach ever. And that's where they're at. And so they're a group of teachers. And yeah, there's they've got Stout, Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach. I mean, that was a blessing that they were able to keep him. But it's a young staff. But I think you got to see what they're going to be like on game day when they got to make critical decisions in the heat of the moment. That'll be the first way that we sort of test them. And then we can kind of evaluate the game plans and what they're trying to do, because that's what we do in Philadelphia. So, I don't think we can really evaluate these guys until game day, in what they do. So maybe starting with the Falcons.
Well, absolutely. They have a the linebacker coach is 27. The special teams coach right around the same age. He's a coordinator, special teams coordinator. The youngest guys ever. And I was telling people the difference between, getting an older guy to listen to you. There's three things you got to do. Number one, you can't lie to him. Number two, you got to make sure that you keep it 100 with him. And then number three, can you make them better? Mm-hmm. And at this point, I'm thinking that the older guys are kind of buying into those three concepts, that they can make them better players. They're not going to lie to them, and they're going to keep it 100 to them. If you could do those things, I believe they'll go. But man, that's tough, going with a team that, with young coaches like that, especially when you have old crafty veterans like Kelsey and those guys. But if you have them in your corner, they'll get the younger guys on board also.
Well, look, the offensive line basically is going to listen to Stout. All right. And Nick wants to run the football. So, Stout's going to be excited. Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, they're going to be excited. Kelsey, Siamala, they're all going to be excited because they're going to be an emphasis on running the football. So, Stout has everybody's attention in the offensive line meeting group. I sat in some of the Zoom calls, this offseason. He gets their attention. They love him. So that's a good thing. But, Nick is a son of a coach. All of his brothers are coaches. His one brother's a head coach at Washington Jefferson outside of Pittsburgh. These guys understand what coaching is. They really do. Whether they're ready for it or not, nobody knew. Nobody knew Frank Reich was ready to be a head coach when he went to Indianapolis, and boy, he was ready to be a head coach. Now, Frank played 14 years in the league and, probably had a little better apprenticeship than Nick did. But, we'll find out. We'll find out pretty quickly if Nick is ready for the job. If he isn't, if he's way over his head, this won't last long. But I have a feeling that he'll be up to the task, and the players are going to respect him.
Well, I know you like the second-round pick out of Alabama, Landon Dickerson. Where do you see him fitting in with this offensive line?
Well, he'll be the leader of the line. When Kelsey moves on, at some point this year, he'll get on the field. He just has, he's an amazing person. You bet on the person, that's why I think the injuries, he did start 24 straight games in between, injuries. And I'm not going to discount the fact that he has that history. He does. But you bet on the person. And, when Nick Saban said he's the best leader they've ever had at Alabama, that carries weight. Mm-hmm. When, they were struck by COVID at Alabama a year ago, like every college program, and he built the gym at his house and, stocked it full of Gatorades and, protein drinks. And, he just took charge. He had 40 players working out at his house on a daily basis. He's doing what Lane Johnson's doing right now at his house in Morristown. He did that at the college level. There's not many people that have come out of college. Quentin Nelson comes to mind. Trent Williams comes to mind. There's not many people that come out of college that can throw bodies around the way Landon Dickerson threw bodies around in the SEC. It was impressive to watch. I'm looking forward. He could play any position on the line, tackle, guard, center. I believe he's probably going to go to guard to start with, just simply because wrestling 340-pound nose tackles puts a lot of stress on knees that are coming back from ACL tears. So I think that's where he's going to start once he gets on the field, Harry.
Yeah, you look at him, and people say, oh, he gets hurt. Well, he gets hurt because he's a physical guy. He's a nasty guy. And when you play like that, I mean, you open yourself up to stuff like that. But being the leader that he is and understanding, why he's holding out right now, trying to get this money right, they have big plans for him going into the future, and he has big plans for himself. But, looking at everybody else that got drafted this year, Smith, him, the running back, I think they'll be a lot more successful on the offensive side of the ball as opposed to, looking at what, the defensive side of the ball holds for them. And I think they'll be a lot farther in their development as a, team on the offensive side of the ball, Defensively, I don't know, but offensively, I think they're going to put up some big numbers.
Well, I think they have a real receiver. I mean, it's been a long time, Barrett. It's been a challenge in Philadelphia to find receivers, to draft receivers. I mean, T.O. came here for a year, and he was unbelievable. Irving Fryer was a big-time free agent signing, and he was unbelievable. But, I mean, tell me, who the Eagles have drafted or signed that was a force in this league. I'm not ready to write Jalen Reagor off, but this Devonta Smith, to me, is going to be a Pro Bowl player. He only lined up for 54 straight games for Alabama and performed. And when Jalen Waddle got hurt this year, he dominated the action. In practice, he went up against Patrick Surtain every day. He was only the 9th pick in the draft. I mean, you go up in the SEC, you're going up against, NFL corners every single week. J.C. Horn, it doesn't matter who. I mean, they go up against, NFL corners every week in that division, and there wasn't anybody he couldn't run by, beat. He's just a skilled player. And so I expect him to elevate this offense. This running back that they drafted out of Memphis, I saw his head coach. I saw his head coach at the offensive line masterminds a week and a half ago, and he only played a year. He's got no tread off the tire. But him and Antonio Gibson, who's the starting running back in Washington,
that was a dynamic duo.
I mean, I know you guys watched that Cotton Bowl against Penn State, but they gave Penn State all they could handle. This guy Gainwell he's gonna. I'm not saying he's Brian Westbrook. I don't want to make any comparisons. Right. He reminds me a lot of Brian Westbrook. He really does. Size, ability to run between the tackles, ability to catch the football, the ability to make people miss in a phone booth. I mean, he's got all those skills. So, I want to see Miles Sanders. I think this offensive line, and I'll say this, I think this can be a top 5 offensive line. I know Lane well. I think he's healthy. Brooks is healthy. Dickerson's coming. The battle at left tackle is going to be a good battle.
Great battle.
Who do you think ends up winning that battle?
I think Jordan Mailata wins it. There's just not many guys on the face of the earth that can run like that, that have that kind of size and that ability to move bodies. I know, that Andre is 20 pounds heavier. We'll see how that translates in the run game. But I think Mailata is going to win that job. And if he does, regardless, the offensive line, if they're really good the way I think they can be, I think they're going to run the football really well this year. It's Jalen's strength. And so and Nick Sirianni wants to run the ball. So I think that's a good starting point for any team that wants to kind of get out of the cellar and put together put behind them just a miserable 4-11-1 season from a year ago.
Well, let me play devil's advocate then. We're looking at a team that, like you said, they're going to run the ball. The quarterback position, that seems to be the elephant in the room. Does Hurts have it, or does Hurts need a little more to stay and keep this position here in Philadelphia?
Well, I've got to know Jalen this offseason. I worked out with him. He works out at 5 in the morning. I mean, he does everything right. I mean, he's son of a coach, great leader, natural leader. He's on, I don't know if it's on record, but he said the only guy that ever coached him, ever. And he had 4 guys at Alabama, and he had the guys in Philadelphia last year. He said the only guy that ever coached him to make him better at the position was Lincoln Riley. He said he never got that from Lane, Lane Griffin in Alabama, or, any of the guys, Sark, all the guys that were there, Dabos, or Brian Daboll. I mean, none of those guys coach them. They just, here's the play, here's the scheme, go play. But Lincoln Riley, and he did make a huge jump at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley. So I want to see Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach, or Shane Steichen, the offense coordinator, or Nick Sirianni. I want to see these guys coach him. He wants to be coached, meaning coached hard, footwork, follow through, aiming point, like all the stuff. He wants it all. So let's see if these guys coach him hard and see what kind of improvement. I don't know yet, Barrett, if he can throw the ball with touch, pinpoint accuracy. I saw him drop. I told him he dropped his eyes too much at the end of the season last year when the rush was coming. Can't win like that. He knows that. So let's see. Joe Flacco's waiting in the wings if he can't do it right now.
What do you think about the rest of this division this season? You got that great defensive front in Washington, Dak Prescott returning to Dallas, and then, of course, Saquon eventually coming back for the Giants.
I like everything about Washington. I think other teams should really look at what they're doing. They're building a beast in Washington, and not just on the defensive front, but throughout. Adding William Jackson and adding Jamin Davis, and getting Matt Ioannidis back. Temple Tough,
yeah.
But they're building around the quarterback. And so many teams go out and overdraft a quarterback and then try to figure it out. They're building a great team around the quarterback. And whenever they're ready to go find their Josh Allen, to go find, their star player, their Patrick Mahomes, whatever, like there's going to be a really good football team. And so they're using all the resources to do it. And so I think defensively, they might be the best defensive football. I know Chase Young won the Defensive Rookie of the Year last year, but he's got a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to get better, and I think he will.
Sweat got better also.
Yeah, he's gonna get better, and so I like that team. Dallas, I think their offense is going to be really good, especially if the offensive line stays healthy. But defensively, you can put Dan Quinn in charge, and you can make a lot of changes. I just don't see it. I don't see the talent on the defensive side of the ball to be, in the top 20. Like, I just don't see it. The Giants, I got to see what kind of health Saquon's in. I want to see if the quarterback can take care of the football. I want to see if the offensive line that has not been addressed can really improve, because they lost their best player in Kevin Zeitler, and so up front, and they didn't replace him. So I want to see if their offensive line, and I have questions, major questions, about both tackles with the Giants. Defensively, they're going to be a really good football team. They were last year. Patrick Graham is a really good coordinator. I believe in that Giant defense. So defensively will be fine, but I have questions about the Giants offense.
Unbelievable, man. Just thinking about, how this season is going to go out, and there's so many unknowns. As I enter into camp, who are the guys you see are going to, you're going to focus on? With me, I'm going to go with your boy Dickerson. I'm also going to look at, what Hurts is going to do. But my major point of emphasis is to see what that cornerback position is, where Maddox is who's going to step up opposite of Slays. And Maddox, who's it going to be?
Well, I agree. I'm a big Zach McPherson fan. I covered him. He was at Penn State. He transferred to be with Matt Wells at Texas Tech. I do Big 12 games on Saturday. I had him in the Hula Bowl this year. Rex Ryan coached him in the Hula Bowl. I asked Rex day one, like, which guy do I need to go watch? He goes, keep your eye on that McPherson, Baldy. Like, he can play corner for me. He can run. And, you just watch him run with the receivers all week there. There's something about that kid, I believe, that has a chance opposite Slay to step up. There's major – they have to rebuild the whole secondary, Barrett. I think McPherson can be a part of it. I like this safety from LSU that they drafted. Stevens. He was kind of a dime linebacker, at LSU. That drop down safety. Everybody's got to play three safeties. I think he can play that role that Malcolm Jenkins played so well for the Eagles.
Absolutely.
He looks like that type of a player and hitter for me. I'm excited to see him. And look, I'm excited to see the receiver. I'm excited to really watch what he can do right now, and to see all the different ways that they try to get him the ball.
Love it, man, because I think he's going to be – everybody will think he's going to be a guy that's going to be a deep threat. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to move the chains. Smith is going to be that consistent guy, that safety blanket that Hurts is going to be looking for. And, that's exactly what we need. A number one receiver is going to move the chains. Not necessarily a highlight reel, but there's nothing wrong with going out and catching a 10-yard pass or 15-yard pass. Keep those sticks moving. I look at him in that type of role, and he can be very successful being that guy for him.
Well, I mean, I think he's more than just a chain mover. I think he's a big time receiver down the field after the catch. I want to see him, up against the elite corners in this league, and guys that because if he gets off to a good start, he's going to start to see some of those guys, and they're going to come up and they're going to challenge him and they're going to say, okay, I know this guy weighs 168 pounds. Let's see if he can get off a press. An NFL press. They were afraid to do that to him in college, but the Jalen Ramseys of this world, they don't fear rookies. In fact, they want to introduce them.
Right.
Let's see what those corners do to them, in this business.
Does Andy Reid get to a third straight Super Bowl this year, or is Buffalo the serious challenger for them? It could get to the Super Bowl themselves.
I heard Patrick Mahomes, a month or so ago say that he wants to go 20-0. I've learned to listen to Patrick Mahomes pretty carefully about things that he says. They address the offensive line here. I think it still goes through Kansas City. I mean, Buffalo is on their tail. There's Baltimore they keep drafting 2 receivers every year to help out Lamar. I think they're still a really good quality football team. There's some teams that can challenge. I want to see what the Chargers do with Staley and, what Justin Herbert looks like in his second season, all that stuff. But I think it goes through Arrowhead. It goes through Kansas City. And I think there's an excellent chance, Harry, that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and that group can bring home a second Lombardi.
Love it, man. I can't wait, man. Can't wait. Camp coming up, man. Are you going to spend a lot of time at camp? Well, I'll see you up there.
I know that they scrimmaged the Patriots. I know I'll be there, Barrett, for that in August, second week in August. I'm excited.
I know you move around a lot. Yeah, you move around a lot. You go to all the different camps,
I know I start – I will be at the Eagles and Jets, Giants, Washington, Baltimore a lot, but I got to get to Jacksonville and New Orleans and Buffalo and Indianapolis and Chicago and Green Bay and,
That's the whole league.
Travel dog.
Travel dog is right.
Chargers and 49ers are going at it in August as well. I can see myself out there in Carson, California that day.
How do you think that's going to go down in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer?
Well, I talked to some players that played for him at Ohio State, and they've got real question marks about it, Harry, about how he conducts business, how he did it at Ohio State. And they're thinking that there's no way you could do this in the NFL. So just the discipline, the regiment, just the separation of church and state, the way that he runs things. I'm going to be there July 31st, that Saturday, when the NFL has this kickoff to start training camp together. So I'm anxious to get around him and see what he does. But I don't have any questions about his quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. I think he's ready for the next step. But I do think there's got to be some – I know he's got a young team, but these are professionals, real professionals. So I am a little anxious to see if he adjusts at all.
One of our people on the stream, Adam's Exploits, points out that Baldy needs a private jet.
Yes,
yeah. You do.
That would help me, Harry. That would really help.
Wheels up. I know a guy at Wheels Up.
I was going through travel yesterday at the NFL Network, and we were trying to figure out how to get from New Orleans to Green Bay with some limited flights. And I said, look, just give me Chicago. I'll just get in the car and go. And they're like, well, if we get you to Milwaukee, that's an hour and a half closer than Chicago. I'm like, fly me to Milwaukee then. Let's go. You're done. The private jet alleviates a lot of that stuff, Harry.
That's right. You need a Wheels Up endorsement.
A net jet. Give me a net jet deal, Harry. Let's go.
That's right.
I'll be doing a couple Big 12 games this year also. So, for the plus. Yeah.
Are you going to be back out there, Baldy, doing the radio and TV for the Big 12?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing I'll be doing the NFL Game of the Week on national radio, and the schedule in college this year, just because of my NFL schedule, is going to be limited. But I should have a few.
Love
Fantastic.
it,
Now, you're the only guy that I will allow on a golf course in cargo shorts. Are you aware
Why
of
is
that?
that, Howard? What's the rule on that?
It's a major violation.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, you're lucky he had shoes on. We're talking about a guy that wears flip flops, to church, man. He just, we're talking about Baldy now. You know what I mean?
I'm in flip flops now.
What I tell you,
I never thought it was any kind of a violation at all. In fact, I thought when it's 100 degrees outside, I'm not wearing Nike slacks, Harry.
Right.
Out there on the course, you got to put something on.
Right.
So I just thought, like, I'm going to lose a dozen balls. Why not just fill my pockets?
right?
Let's just be prepared.
They have more pockets than board shorts, I guess.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were you at any golf outings with Baldy Barrett? Barrett goes to a golf outing every 2 weeks.
Well,
sure.
I was there at the golf. He was there. He was there earlier.
Oh, okay.
But I went I teed off at 1:15. Oh my God, it felt like I was melting out there, man.
That's how hot it was.
Yeah. It was
I know.
crazy.
I'm glad. I was supposed to tee off in the afternoon, and I talked to Jaws, and I'm like, get me on an 8:15 time. Give me on an 8:15. We beat a lot of the heat there, Bear.
Well, see, look, that's what I'm saying, man. Usually Jaws puts you with, if he's a guy that he likes you, he's going to put you with the major sponsor. Mm-hmm. So Baldy probably had a major sponsor there, but he said, "No, let me get out of there." That's probably how I ended up at 1:15. Then I was probably supposed to go at 8:15.
No. They needed like mega celebrities in the afternoon, Bear. They were just trying to balance it out.
Well, do you have anything to promote? I know you're always doing, stuff like CBD and all this stuff on your Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of stuff, Harry. But I mean, I'm a big believer in this Core Science products.
Mm-hmm.
Core Natural Sciences. TQLB is the call letter for stocks, but I take all their products. It's been really, really good. I take all my energy and hydrate product to a company called ID Life. They've been really good to me, and I've been promoting a website, Winners Inc. That is just a gaming site, and we've kind of got some experts out there in every sport. Mitch Williams in baseball and Jaws in football, and a lot of different guys for different sports talking about the contest and the NBA Finals and NHL and through baseball right now. So that's been great. Winners has been fantastic.
Your career has exploded again. I think, do you owe all this success to being on the Meat Locker for all those years?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I started there. Yeah, everybody's got to reinvent themselves. I mean, it's, the idea that somebody's just going to stay with you for 20 years, 30 years,
right?
Give you the gold watch, show you the door. Like, you just have to reinvent yourself if you want to work. So that's all I'm about, Harry. Like, I took advantage of the pandemic. I started a couple different businesses. We taught the game of football online via Zoom to different wannabe coaches and scouts and fans out there. So, we got busy during the pandemic.
Well, hey, this is the first time I've seen you with your shirt on, man, since social media, man. You're everywhere. Costa Rica, you know what I mean? And
I was just in El Salvador, Barrett. Like, El Salvador is going to blow up.
Yeah?
They have this is how good. I mean, first of all, their infrastructure, their road system is best in all of Central America.
Huh.
But, the dollar is American currency. Like, there's a lot of things that are going on in the right direction. They're building and developing. The beaches are world-class. But they have a direct flight. Listen to this. From Newark to San Salvador, it's about a 4-hour flight. Every day, $80 one way.
What?
Yeah, $80. And it's a 45-minute shuttle from San Salvador Airport to the beach, world-class beach. I mean, the Olympic surf trials were in Surf City, El Salvador this year. So surfers came from all over the world. It's world-class surf. But $80 one way.
Well, see that I learned more than just football from Baldy.
Of course.
Exactly.
I mean, anybody can talk about cover two, Barrett.
He's a Renaissance man, Barrett.
Yeah.
Ole, I'll make sure that every once in a while, I'll drive by your house, make sure everything's good, man. Nobody's breaking in for you,
appreciate
bro.
that. Yeah,
check it out for you, man, because you're never there. But I'll
well,
check
we're gonna have I got some girls that like want to have this big party Labor Day weekend. I don't think I have a college game this year, so
I miss the parties, man.
Yeah, and I know September 3rd, 4th. If the invitations, if these girls do what they say they want to do, then the invitations will be out. You'll be there. Harry will be invited.
Wow.
They'll make you guys make your appearances.
I remember the last bash I was at, man. That thing, I don't know if that stopped for 3 days. That was like a 3-day party.
I just came back. The next day. I came back the next day just for the food, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, gourmet food. You have chefs out there, cigars, you name it, man. It was great, man.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Have you seen Vi Sikahema recently?
Yes, I saw him. In fact, he was in town from Utah last week. I went to lunch with him and Mark Jordan, former producer over at NBC. We
know Mark.
Yep. One of the diners, and had some matzo ball soup and some stuff, and we broke bread. And I was just kind of catching me up on all the things that he's doing right now.
Speaking of a guy who goes on a golf course without shoes, that's Vi Sikahema.
Right? The Polynesian style.
Yeah.
So there's only one way to play golf.
All right, who's your favorite? Speaking of that, who's your favorite Polynesian football player to watch out for in college football this year? Can you give us a name?
Well, they've got a kid. They've got another lineman up in Oregon. I forget his name. I just met him. They got another Polynesian player up in Oregon, offensive tackle.
Offensive, okay.
That I think could be ready. The coach, the offensive line coach, just left Oregon to go to Hawaii. He said he's got a dozen of them at Hawaii right now.
Wow.
Ready to go. So I got to start, breaking down some tape on these guys.
You see that room right there? He doesn't leave.
That's right.
I used to work there. I used to get there at 6:30 in the morning. He'd be there, and I'd leave. I wouldn't stay there. I'd leave around 3:00, and sometimes he'd stay until like 10:00, saying, "Well, I got to catch up." Then he'd be on a plane going to who knows where. The next day, man. So he gets it in, man. He gets it in. I wish I could come there and watch film with you, man. When can I come up there?
We got to figure out a little bit of the whole COVID protocols, Barrett, kind of
right. It's horrible,
anybody from coming in, but if we're going in the right direction, we could get those things kind of relaxed a little bit for that to happen here pretty soon.
And that thing is, he's there at 6 a.m. ready to watch film. He has already worked out already. He's already been to the gym.
Yeah. No, otherwise, it's food and football here, Howard. Like you could blow up pretty quick if you're not getting that in beforehand.
Yeah, nothing like that. Nothing like going and it was Baldy would bring Wendy's, and then you'd have Sterling. He would bring Chick-fil-A. Mm-hmm. So we ate good up in it's called the War Room. We just sit there and be watching film over it all day, watching film all day, going through everything. Every once in a while I hear, "Hey, Brooksy, come here for a minute." I leave out the war room, go in the office. He showed me something like, "Man, I cannot believe they just tried to do that." Yeah. Man. So we go through a lot of stuff when I was up there with him, man.
That's great. Baldy, we really appreciate this, man. I know you're really busy, and you're getting ready for the season to start. We look forward to following you on Instagram and listening to you on radio and TV.
Well, let me know if you need anything, bro.
And Barrett, I'm sure we'll cross paths, at NovaCare or someplace. All right, so
definitely.
Keep it up, Barrett. We're proud of you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You're one of our students that we're real proud of and what they've done, man.
That's great.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
man.
guys.
Thanks a lot. There he is, the great Baldy, at Baldy NFL on Instagram.